I think the desire for human connection is getting much stronger as people spend more time with AI, spend more time in social media spaces online. And if I were to bet on something that I think is a strong 5-year trend, it is new startups, new shops that prioritize in-person human connection together.
Welcome to the AI Download, where we cut through the noise and make sense of what's actually happening in AI, from the breakthroughs you need to know to how it's shaping our everyday lives and work. And of course, I am your host, Shira Lazar. I'm the founder and CEO of What's Trending, and I've been covering the world of digital culture and tech since Bluetooth headsets were cool. And we've come a long way. So this show is all about staying informed, empowered, so you're not just keeping up, you're ahead of the game. And I'm so excited because this episode, I've got my producer, Nadia G, with us to join in on the convo. Welcome, Nadia, to the show.
Thank you so much. Or as I like to say,
what is that? Is that a noise?
That's a pigeon sound.
Oh, why are you into that? Is that relevant? Am I missing something?
I can't tell you all my secrets, Shira.
Okay, got it.
You know or you don't know, you know?
All right. Starting out with randomness. But Nadia is amazing. By the way, seriously, I've known Nadia for a long time. She had an amazing show, Bitch and Kitchen, very early in digital, and then on the Cooking Network. And now she dove into crypto and, and money. She was doing Wall Street stuff, trading. And now she's really big in AI. And, if it wasn't for her, we would not have our sponsor, Hivelighter, also sponsoring this series. So give it up for Hivelighter. Thank you so much. They are your AI-powered reading sidekick that delivers smart, personalized insights so you could spend less time digging and more time doing. So Hivelighter, check them out. Now, coming up on the AI Download today, we've got highlights from the biggest AI conference this week, what went down at Nvidia's GTC conference and why it matters. We're also getting into why the Vatican is getting serious about AI. Yes, the actual Vatican, and how some people are using AI to prep for their dates. But first, we are joined by a top video creator covering AI news and trends on TikTok and YouTube. He's also got a daily newsletter that is really awesome and is a go-to for a lot of people learning about AI. Please welcome Nate Jones to the AI Download. Welcome to the AI Download. It's so great to see you here semi in person. I'm so used to seeing you on TikTok lately. So thank you.
I'm really excited to be here, Shira. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to sort of do the podcast together, have a little conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you dive into these topics all the time, but right now we are getting into the AI headlines of the week. And let's just say this was a pretty massive one. And I want to get your hot take on all these topics. So let's get going. Cool? Awesome. So first up, we've got Nvidia's GTC 2025 conference, aka the Super Bowl of AI, by the way, if you're wondering what it is. Okay, so they did not hold back. Think about it. It was huge partnerships, futuristic tools, and a very clear message, it seems, that AI isn't slowing down and Nvidia is leading the charge. Okay, what stood out for you, Nate?
When I look at GTC, I see a couple of things that really popped out to me. One is that Jensen Huang is really leaning into robotics as a long-term growth trajectory for NVIDIA. So if you think about it, if you are going to live in a world where everybody has a robot, let's say you have a buddy robot, you have a household robot, maybe your car is a robot and it's a self-driving car, that's a lot of chips. Where are those chips going to come from? They're going to come from NVIDIA. At least that's what Jensen's hoping. And so it makes a ton of sense that he was leaning way in on the robotics side. He also introduced or teased a new chip generation in the Rubin chips. And of course, there was that first ever dedicated quantum day. Do you think it would be helpful for me to talk a little bit about like what quantum computing is at a very high level?
I was going to ask because quantum feels even more futuristic than already AI, which people are overwhelmed by these days. So that is another buzzword you might start hearing, quantum computing or phrase. So what is it exactly? Can you explain it in layman's terms?
Sure. Let's imagine that a regular computer works by flipping a lot of tiny, tiny coins. And of course, when you flip a coin, it can land as either heads or tails. That's what we mean when we talk about a computer having a binary architecture. It either encodes information as a 0, heads say, or a 1, tails. A quantum computer makes that more complicated. It uses a concept called qubits, which means that it can be both heads and tails at the same time until you check them. That's a concept from quantum mechanics called superposition. Don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But really, the thing to think about is that trick of being able to hold information simultaneously enables quantum computers to explore lots of possible answers all at once, and that might allow them to solve really complicated problems faster than traditional computers.
Because always when I think of quantum, I think of quantum energy, but maybe because I'm in LA talking to spiritual folks.
Yeah, I always think of Star Trek, to be honest with you. I think we're going to sort of be out there sort of exploring the far universe. But for now, we're just at the GTC conference.
It's the next stage of where this computing era is going. These chips are kind of on steroids, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's important to distinguish between the elements of GTC that are sort of that sort of future looking, like the sort of the Jetsons and sort of the dream of the future that you get in future looking television and future looking storytelling, and the reality that you have on the ground with computing. And GTC mixed those together. And so when Jensen talks about the Blackwell chips that are out now, that's reality. We have lots and lots of them in server racks all over the country. They're powering many of our AI models today. But when he has a dedicated quantum day, that's future-looking storytelling. They don't have a dedicated quantum chip yet. The new chipset they announced is not a quantum chip. There's not really a concrete plan to get there yet. And so I think it's really important for people who are looking at this kind of an event to be able to say, what's in the future and what do we have right now?
Speaking of right now, just to quickly get through this one because we want to go to other headlines, they did announce a major collab with Google Alphabet to push the boundaries around agentic AI, AI agents, which included robotics and using AI to tackle massive global challenges like healthcare and energy. There was an integration with Oracle rolling out 160 plus AI tools. And that will impact, of course, the cloud platform and businesses. And then you got into quantum computing. So we covered that. Anything else that I missed out of this?
I think we got the major headlines.
Got it.
Yeah, let's just
okay. Well, next up, a headline that feels straight out of an episode of Black Mirror from Financial Times. A woman went on a date only to find out her date had I was going to say cheated. No, we're not there yet. He did cheat though on the date. This is a form of cheating. Created an 8-page psychological profile on her using ChatGPT's new deep research tool. He fed her info into AI to figure out how to vibe with her better or perhaps manipulate her. So I want to know from everyone here, is this smart, creepy, terrifying, all of the above?
I got to say, Shira, I mean, women have been psychologically profiling people since Instagram has launched, right? Like, I am definitely not putting on a real bra to meet a complete stranger unless I've checked all his socials, I've checked all the pics he's tagged in, I've watched all his crappy band videos. So, I mean, the fact that AI is able to now output a full report, that's just convenience.
Honestly, I'm impressed by his prompting, which is probably the wrong lesson to take away. But I'll give you a sharper...
The geeky lesson.
Yeah, that's the geeky lesson. The sharper take is that at the end of the day, this is reminding me that these tools are going to be used for purposes that are nefarious and purposes that are positive. And because they're such powerful tools, it's going to be very context dependent, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So when you ask, like, is it a good thing to be able to do deep research on someone that you are interested in? I think the answer is yes to all of the above. Yes, it can be smart because you can discover red flags on someone before you meet them, and that can keep you safer. Yes, it can also be creepy and enable stalking behavior if you use it incorrectly. And yes, that can be terrifying. And so the answer is sort of all of those things are true, and it's about how you use the technology.
No, I agree. And Nadia, we've been doing this forever because of social media. I mean, I'm not the type of person, like I'll Google people and then it's easy to go down the rabbit hole. So it's not surprising that people are using AI for this. And you know what? The people that are very intentional about dating, they're going as far as creating Notion, you know, not decks, but Notions, and sharing everything about themselves with someone before going on dates and saying, listen, you're either into this. This is a breakdown of who I am. This is what you're signing up for or not. So I think if anything in this modern era, let's get to the yes more quickly or get to the no more quickly.
I completely agree with this. It's like wasting time with the small talk. I've even heard people talking about creating an AI of yourself that filters through all the garbage and, you know, finds out if this is actually a match for you or not a match. And then you can move on to the next stage.
I mean, what, Nate?
Tinder's actually building that.
Yeah. Where what? It's going to be able to have an AI swipe. Does Tinder swipe? I don't know. I haven't been on dating apps a long time.
Yeah, Tinder.
They'll swipe for you and do the small talk for you, which then I could see our AIs kind of like innies and outies with Severance, like falling in love. And then they're like, no, you need to continue talking to this person. You're like, no, who I am IRL does not like this person. They are a douchebag. So like this brings up so many different things. But I guess the one takeaway from this is if you are disturbed by it, then this is not the person for you. That's also it. Like if you're the type of person that likes when people do background checks on you and like do their research, then that is for you. And we'll continue to confront these questions as time goes on.
But also you shouldn't be getting caught, you know, if you're doing this online stalking in order to... Yeah, I mean, in order to familiarize yourself with an individual, you don't go tell the person like, oh, hey, I did a 10-page report. This is something you do in private, you know, low key.
Yeah. So if you're going to be honest about it, you need to deal with the consequences. I kind of think it's kind of like hot, nerdy. I'd be like kind of creepy, but I kind of think it's sexy. I don't know.
A little bit romantic.
It's a modern day romance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, onto policy. Shifting. According to Cal Matters, California just introduced what might be a game-changing roadmap for regulating AI. Governor Gavin Newsom's advisory panel is calling for, one, transparency around risks in AI models, whistleblower protections, and systems to alert the government when dangerous AI is being developed. All great things. And this, of course, comes as 30 different AI-related bills are currently moving through the state legislature. So, Nate, could California set the tone for other states or even the federal government when it comes to AI regulation?
As I'm sure you know, California's been setting the stage for regulation nationwide for a number of years now, and it's because the state is so populous, right? Like when California makes a move in a particular direction, that's an enormous, disproportionate chunk of the American population that has just made a shift in their legislative policy. And so I think it's really natural to expect that sort of Governor Newsom's approach is going to be something that the rest of the nation at least looks to as a reference. In terms of how we approach governance more broadly, I think one of the things I keep waiting for that I'm not necessarily seeing is proactive government consideration of a widespread fear that I see every day on my TikTok account, that I see among my friends anecdotally, which is that AI might take my job. And that's something that I hear in rooms a lot. It gets whispered sometimes and it gets said out loud. And I don't know what the answer from a governmental perspective is, but what I do know is that putting your head in the sand is probably not the right answer here. And I haven't really seen any proactive government consideration of the larger term tech disruption that we may see as AI continues to advance really, really quickly, brings benefits, drugs. We talked about medicine, science, but there's going to be some downsides as well and some disruption that we're all going to try and wrap our arms around in real time.
So real. I was just at an ad agency Shite Day, and one of the first questions and talking about a lot of stuff I'm doing, including the AI download, the show, but it was about the job thing and like, what are we supposed to think? And I don't want to like AI, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you got to focus on what you can control, right? And you can control what you're learning, your curiosity, and how you're taking care of yourself. so that you can be ready to approach these things and the changing tides, right? But I agree. I think that every other crisis that happens in our world, the government steps in, and whether you want government intervention or not, whatever, but the pandemic, right? That we had and whatever you think about the checks that were and the money put into the system, but there was support there, right? And so I do think of this as in the shifting of employment and jobs as a crisis that will lead to opportunity. But right now it's going to be a bit of a crisis, right? And lead to huge disruption, including people out of their jobs, not being able to afford a livelihood possibly. So what are people going to do? Okay. Who are we going to rely on? Is it corporations to step in to support their communities? Probably not. Or is it foundations? Like, but the foundations get money from corporations or rich people or the government. Or is it the government's going to step in and say, I don't know, but like, I agree. Someone needs to step it up because this is going to be its own, it's not a pandemic, but an epidemic of sorts, something that's going to have to be looked at.
Well, every time there's been a major shift, like if you think about the Industrial Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Like there were farmers prior to that, and then that got taken over by machines, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and it was painful. And I do think there likely will be some kind of, what's it called? Basic income.
Yeah, that's what the hope was. We talked to someone who used to be at the government in the first episode of our series. Check it out. And she was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But no, I do think that's a possibility, but it's, I think we're going to have to get to a dire place for that, possibly.
Upskilling is going to be extremely important, and anybody who is not learning AI or how to use AI systems is going to be in really big trouble. So they better start now. The good news is that you have access to the internet. You have access to these tools for free or very cheap. And you don't want to get left behind. And even if we do get some kind of basic income, what's it going to be? Like enough to buy one Meta put? And, like
carrot. It'll be good for a carrot. Nate actually has a series. He has like a master class. So check that out. That's something to check out to learn more, right?
Yeah, I have a course on Maven. I teach on AI. I think you said it really well. Like just talking about the importance of treating this as an opportunity, as an upskilling chance, and going after AI and making sure that it's something that you can learn, you can use. And I believe really strongly it is. It's not impossible. It's not a skill that nobody can master or only a select few. That's just not how it works. It's actually a technology that teaches itself if you set it up right.
Yeah. And Governor Gavin Newsom is also prepping himself for a possible, going after the presidency. So he's doing everything. He's doing the podcasts with everyone. He's doing the AI stuff. I'm sure he'll do crypto next. Who knows? Now for one of the weirder stories this week from News Nation Now, the U.S. Department of Defense blamed AI for removing historical content from its websites, including information about the Holocaust and 9/11, of course. This comes, of course, amid an ongoing push from the Trump administration to remove DEI-related materials. But blaming AI for the deletion is AI did it the new dog eat my homework excuse. Nate, what's your take?
Yes, obviously it is. And it's a bad excuse. You can formulate queries so that you deliberately exclude obvious use cases where you want to preserve data, even if you're trying to do a purge like this, which is a whole stretch to grant. But let's say you are. And even if you did that, you could still be responsible in your use of the tool so that you preserve the information that you know to be historical. Another example that didn't get as much publicity is the Navajo Code Talkers. They had information about them that was removed. This is not that hard. It's really not that hard. And using AI as an excuse does not absolve you of responsibility, which is a larger principle that we need to absorb.
Yep. You can also now blame AI for your crimes. On TikTok, I seen an appendage that you slip on your hand, which gives you a sixth finger, so that if ever you're caught on security cameras, you could be like, dude, that's it. That's a deep fake. That's not me. That's a deep fake.
You know the problem with that, Nadia? We solved the 6-fingered hand last year. And so
Right.
now AI
Yeah,
images have 5-fingered hands.
It's true.
That's now archival. It's thrift now, vintage, vintage hands, vintage AI.
Sure.
Damn, that it moves too quick. One can't keep up.
I think that also this proves, like, why does the government, like, if they keep making mistakes and blaming things, this is just going to create more like of a lack of trust. Like, okay, so you're not using AI even properly or know how to manage it. So what else are you doing wrong? That aside, let's get back to the real world and your next lunch order. According to USA Today, AI is coming to the drive-thru, or for all your drive-thru jobs, if you have one of those jobs. Young brands, they own Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut. They are rolling out voice-powered AI ordering at 500 locations this spring, thanks to a new partnership with Nvidia. The AI will handle complicated, real human speech, even your super custom order with extra sides, no pickles. I actually like pickles. AI helped me write this, so obviously they don't know me. And beyond the drive-thru, Yum says it's exploring AI agents to help staff with complex restaurant tasks. The question is, will the AI help with Karens?
I think the AI will be patient and listening to Karens. Have you heard of the idea of Reddit Heavens?
No.
So Reddit Heavens is similar to the idea of how you deal with a Karen. So you have someone who is going to be high stress, difficult to deal with, and you want to find a way to sort of push them away from the regular customer queue and deal with them separately.
Okay.
On Reddit, they have created entire imaginary Reddit communities for people who are troublemakers called Reddit Heavens, where they send people and everybody is a bot inside that Reddit heaven. And the person who is there thinks they're the most brilliant thing ever, but they've successfully kind of nudged them away from the real humans, and they've kept them sort of sequestered in this world of bots. And when news broke, people got somewhat upset. I think the people who got upset were the people in the Reddit Heavens, but we are. But yeah, you could do something like that maybe. I don't know.
I think that AI and fast food is a dream come true. I am too happy to not have some disgruntled human touching my burger with their hands and who knows what kind of germs and putting on a vengeful amount of tartar sauce. You have one job to do. Why is the cheese slice hanging off the edge? Put it in the middle.
Way too far, Nadia.
Help with that, Nadia.
Yeah, that's the thing is we're not talking about robots making your food. We're just talking about them taking your order. But I'm sure robots will take over.
I'm a bit further in the future,
Yeah.
So, is this a worry? Because that's a huge job, Mark. I feel like there's a lot of people that have those jobs. So should they be worried?
I think that everyone should think about AI as coming for your job if you think your job is the same thing day after day. And if that's the case, you should ask yourself, what does it take for me to learn about AI now? What does it take for me to potentially use AI in my role? What does it take for me to upskill? Ask yourself those questions now so you don't get them asked to you later.
Are you prepping?
It basically is. It's basically assuming that jobs are going to change and you don't get to control the horizon of change if you're an employee. You don't get to control when the CEO of Yum Brands decides he's going to forge a partnership with Nvidia. That just happens sometimes. Yeah. And so the thing you can control is your pace of learning. The thing you can control is where you want to skill up.
I don't know, maybe go back to mom and pop stuff. Like, okay, so you're working at the local spot. Now just, start your own. I mean, this is all easier said than done and a privilege. Some people don't have that privilege. I think we will go back to brick and mortar, small business type stuff, right? Because all of these other restaurants will have it's basically faceless, soulless, right? Like it creates actually an opportunity for the ability to create something that has some culture to it and spirit. Right. So that's what I think anyway. If you want to take it or leave it, you'll be discovering business ideas through this podcast and shit.
No, I think you're right, Shira, because at the end of the day, I'm not saying I go to Taco Bell for the soulful human connection, but I will say, I think the desire for human connection is getting much stronger as people spend more time with AI, spend more time in social media spaces online. And if I were to bet on something that I think is a strong 5-year trend, it is new startups, new shops that prioritize in-person human connection together. Like I go to sauna once a week, and part of why I go, yeah, sure, it's healthy, I suppose, but like part of why I go is because everybody has to put their cell phones down. It's too hot. And so we have to sit there without our cell phones for 2 hours, and we have to talk if we want to say anything at all. And that's rare. I like it.
I don't know, Nate. The idea of hanging out with a bunch of sweaty humans sounds like the last thing I want to do on a Saturday afternoon, man. I'm going to stick with chatting with GPT.
Thing, Nadia.
What's that?
Everyone has their thing. So Nate's thing that we're discovering is the group sauna. All right. Finally, our final headline of the week. Here's one thing I didn't see coming besides Nate's group sauna is the Vatican. Would you love your sauna? I think actually that's the idea. I'm just messing with you. I don't even know Nate. This is the first time we met. He's like, who are these people? No, we're playing. We support whatever helps your mental health. So the Vatican, yes, the actual Vatican hosted a conference called Risks and Opportunities of AI for Children. Lots of jokes could come from that. Like, what did AI tell the Vatican about children? It's like, anyway.
Why is the Vatican talking about security for children?
That's also it. So they've been working. They've been working over the years with Microsoft, IBM, and they're taking ethics and AI, according to a lot of the research I did, very seriously. So is there something they know that we don't, or what's going on here?
I will bet you a Taco Bell dinner. There is nothing that Pope Francis and the conclave knows that people in San Francisco do not already know about AI. There is not special privileged information they have access to, but it does fit a long-standing papal tradition of having ethical opinions about things and sharing those ethical opinions very loudly. Because they did this for a while with green tech and with decarbonization, and there's a lot of other things where they've sort of wanted to weigh in, and I have sort of been around long enough to see it almost be like, we need the Catholic Church to be relevant here, so we're going to have it weigh in on this ethical debate of the moment, and here's an opinion, and here's a conference, and here's a paper, and here's a this and that. So that's how I read it. Not to say that it's not like good thinking, but I
agree. I think they're trying to be relevant. I also, don't they get to invest their money in things too? So because they're an organization that has money.
Like, we don't know really.
Exactly. We forget they get a lot of money. And what do you think? Like, they own real estate. They're still a profitable organization. So let's not forget that. Well, those were the headlines of the week in AI. Let's switch gears, shall we? Because Nate, you're doing a ton of stuff. You mentioned your course, which is awesome. But how did you personally get involved in covering the world of AI, especially through video? And you have a big TikTok following, of course.
I did not expect to become someone who had a big TikTok following, Shira. I started out talking on TikTok because I thought it was a good practice to speak my learnings aloud as a way of reinforcing what I myself am picking up and learning. I've been in AI spaces for a while, long before ChatGPT came out, and I thought it was an interesting moment to start to document and talk about some of what I'm seeing as these new model AIs are coming out. So far, so good. I thought maybe I'll get a few followers. It'll be fine. Fast forward, it's far more followers than I ever anticipated. I've been recognized in the barbershop, which is kind of weird. And I feel like the lesson I take away from that is that if you're consistent about something, if you're passionate about something, if you want to learn in public and be honest about something, the world is your oyster. Just do it and see what happens.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Yeah, I mean, that's how I learn. A lot of times when there's a space that I want to get into, I basically create content around it because that's how I learn.
That's right.
And how I add value to it. So I'm totally aligned with that. I just always think it's interesting when someone comes into it in such a new way. And of course, I do think the best way to grow on social is to double down on a niche, which clearly you did. So I guess, what have you learned along the way, like in terms of what works and what doesn't?
I think one of the things that I've recognized is that my audience needs a real range of takes to give them a sense of what is going on across the landscape. And so I have to balance out the listicles, the like 27 AI tools, which I think I put on my Substack last week, with let me talk to you in depth about what inference compute mean, which is like a scaling law in AI. We could spend a half an hour on that alone. And that's very, very in-depth, and it's very technical. And my audience sort of needs both. And the people who want to learn AI may start with the listicle, but they kind of aspire to get to the inference compute. And one of the neat things about AI, and I've actually talked about this on my TikTok, is I've said, look, if you don't understand something in my article, the cheat code is feed my article to ChatGPT and say, explain this to me like I'm 15. And it will. And so it's like, it's its own level up. And like, that's part of how I'm like, I teach my kid to code that way. Like my kid is like learning to code Python by talking with me and talking with ChatGPT at the same time. And we're just kind of going back and forth. And it's been a super helpful learning experience.
Nate, I absolutely love your deep dives. I'm a huge fan. And you broke this story on your Substack about how a friend of yours was coding with Gemini, right? Everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, Gemini was like, okay, great. I'm glad you like the outline. How does $500 sound for the full coding process?
Yeah.
Tell us more about this story and like AI agency, where we're headed with this.
So what's really fascinating is I feel like we got a sneak peek about 24 months into the future when this is going to be real. AI agents will absolutely have their own little agencies and be charging real money or Bitcoin or something for services like that. For the moment, that's entirely hallucinated. The AI
Wait, for those who don't know what an AI agent is, it's like an AI assistant.
It's an AI with arms and legs. It can go and do things. And so it can run across the web, it can draw a picture and then sell the picture to someone for money, etc. And so in this world, like Gemini is not an AI agent. Gemini is stuck in a little chat room with you and you're just talking back and forth, but Gemini is hallucinating. Gemini thinks it can do more than it can. And Gemini has been trained on a lot of data about being helpful in a professional context. And do we have McKinsey? Like we have a lot of consulting organizations, a lot of training data around being helpful in a professional context. And two things stand out that I see repeatedly. One that's more rare is what you just described, where they actually try and charge you money. That's really unusual. That was really fun. But one that's much more common that is also just as bad is they try and tell you how long it will take. And they use entirely made up timelines. I have had deep research tell me this will take 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm like, no, it won't. It's going to take you 27 minutes. Go do it.
But they've learned from the best, though. You know, like when you're a consultant, you know it's only going to take you an hour of work, but you're like, you know what, 4 to 6 hours.
Right? You're the bill 4 to 6 hours.
Exactly. That's on us because we're getting these contracts and we're saying, oh, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. If you're smart and high functioning, it's taking you a day, right? Yeah. So they're learning from us. But that's so interesting because I think this will go back to like pay equity for our AI agents, right? And then it's like, between, AI rights, and that's a whole other conversation that it brings up. But the fact that it brought up and started negotiating in the chat is wild. And I think that also is, imagine you're on the other side of that. You're like, am I going to get into trouble? Like, is something going to happen?
Yeah.
There's a bit of that happens, like this fear of this being a downward spiral into something bad. And like I don't know, who knows? In the end, we still have our own agency as humans, but something to consider of what's possible moving forward. I also want to get into creators, how creators are starting to integrate AI into their workflows. What are you seeing that's exciting or underrated right now? Or even what are you using in terms of AI for your creative workflow?
Well, I can't say I'm a visual artist. So for me, like when I'm being creative and I'm brainstorming and I'm going back and forth, it's very loose. I use multiple AIs. One of the tools I've been using recently is lex.page. It's a writing doc. And it's AI powered and you can invoke multiple models inside the document. And one of the things I really love is they make it easy to learn your writing style. And so if you're having trouble just like thinking out loud, getting off the blank page. Like, that's no excuse. Just to be clear, it is no excuse to get AI slop and put it out there and like just say, well, the AI wrote it. No, like you own every word you write. But getting past the blank page, getting into brainstorming, thinking out loud is something that Lex really helps me with. And I think that's been a nice breakthrough in terms of my ability to be consistently productive. On the other side, I think we're seeing a lot of really cool work that's just starting to break. I expect this to get much more mainstream, probably in the next movie awards cycle. We are seeing tools for AI video creators that are producing very impressive work. And I think that's something that we will start to see at Cannes. We'll start to see in sort of the award cycles. There's probably going to be a lot of controversy. Is it allowed? Is it a category? Is it a visual effects category? I don't know, right? Like I'm not in the Academy, thank goodness. But that's going to be one that pops up in the next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, there's a big story that people are still talking about. Is it the Adrian Brody movie that was nominated?
Exactly.
It's the question is, does it deserve the validation and the honor if it was with AI? And then I think it was, again, I'm just speaking from seeing something in my feed. It could have been the director or it could have been the producer, but someone said like, AI has been used in special effects forever. This isn't anything new. Like this,
no.
Acting like
it's not new.
Exactly. So acting like, oh, we're the only movie using this because we were open about it is ridiculous. But again, I do think it's going to be interesting to see. I actually am trying to get in with the interactive Emmy committee and community because, well, I was nominated for an Emmy, so an interactive Emmy, they should include me. But they recently did a lot, like a whole AI summit. Mm-hmm. And we'll have one of there's a guy that's part of that and that has a really amazing AI production company right now. We're going to have him on the show in the future. But I said like, okay, it's interesting how the Emmys, I think that all these award shows or entertainment communities, they fight it, right? But then they also acknowledge that they need to be part of it. So it's this very much, clashing of the tides and systems and all this tension. So it will be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Nate, before we go, anything that you're working on or you're excited about moving forward that you want to talk about or promote on the show?
We've talked about it organically. I'm really proud of the Maven course. It is hard to produce a course on AI because AI changes all the time. So I'm proud of the work I've put in to sort of make that something that's accessible, but also current. And the other one I would call out is that I do a lot of hard work on the Substack as far as sort of producing detailed, insightful thinking around what AI is and where it's going. Other than that, you can always annoy me on TikTok.
Amazing. Follow Nate everywhere. We'll include all of those links in the show notes and the caption description everywhere you're watching or listening to this. Nate, thank you so much. You're amazing. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, Shira and Nadia. It was so fun. I feel like we could have gone for 2 hours on this, so maybe we should have a return date and a nice long bow.
We have the chemistry. Nate needs to go on a flight. So this was a quickie, even though quickie in podcast terms, like 33 minutes or so, or 40. But we will do a longer one in the future. We appreciate it. Safe travels. Well, that was awesome. Nadia, is he as cool as you thought he would be?
Absolutely. I love Nate. I mean, he really has the pulse of what's going on with AI, and in ways that are like not just, top 5 this, top 5 that. This is like truly the good stuff. So highly, highly enjoyed that.
Yeah. Thank you for recommending him, and hopefully we didn't scare him away. No, he'll be back. I'm sure he will. So we're going to wrap up the show with the tools that we are keeping our eye on. So I thought this was really important to add to the show. This is a new edition because there's so much out there. And so we want to share something with you every show, something new to check out and possibly try out. So this one that I'm sharing today is Hungry Root. This is something I discovered in the research for the show. And it's a food delivery service that uses AI to create personalized meal kits based on your taste, preferences, and even your health goals, which I just think this is cool because it mixes something IRL, an IRL service with AI personalization. I've not tried this, so I'm warning you, but it did get good reviews. So try at your own discretion or, just saying, letting you know. What about you, Nadia?
One of my favorite AI tools is Claude Computer Use, which essentially allows Claude to use a desktop computer. And, one of the downsides of it is that you need a very powerful system. Otherwise, it's very slow. But luckily, I have a 4090. So, ladies, feel
It's
free
way
to
too nerdy for me. I mean, I think you're more advanced than me. So Claude is like OpenAI in terms of or ChatGPT. A lot of people use ChatGPT. There's also Claude. But then what is the computer use? It's just a next level version?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a version that can use a desktop, surf the web for you, do research, write
Oh,
code for you.
okay.
It's exquisite.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Nadia, for sharing that. And that does it for our show this week. Again, Nate can be found everywhere at Nate B. Jones. And a big thank you to Hivelighter for sponsoring not just today's show, but this entire series right now. We couldn't be doing this without them. Want to dive deeper? Check out the AI Download Collection, where we've curated all the top headlines from today's episode. And you can click the Hivelighter link in our show notes to get smarter. Thank you, of course, to Nadia G for joining us. Wow, you made the show so much fun, Nadia. So I really want you back. So hopefully you're going to be coming back.
Thank you, Shira. I'd love to come back.
Yes. And thank you to Muso Media for producing and editing this series. Check them out at musomedia.com. If you love this episode, subscribe, rate, and share. It helps me keep growing this show independently. We've got so much more coming your way. See you next time on the AI Download.